Beneath Neon Ash, a tale of Detective Cal Rook. I lit a cigarette from the burner port of my arm. Sparks flared blue in the haze of the alley, bouncing off the walls like dying fireflies. It tasted like regret and copper, same as every morning, or whatever passed for morning in Neo-Chicago. The smog had gotten so thick you had to check your phone to know what hemisphere you were in. The girl in the sequined coat was already dead. Didn't stop her from smiling. "Cal Rook?" she said, voice modulated, a soft, melodic glitch. "Heard you were good. Fast. Dirty." "I'm one of those things," I said, pulling my coat closed against the acid drizzle. "Depends on who's asking." She stepped forward, out of the neon spray of the dive bar behind her. Her eyes caught the light in a way I didn't like. Too crisp, too still. She was half synthetic at least, maybe more. "My name's Vera." She offered a hand like it was currency. "My sister's missing. I want you to find her." "Your sister?" I took the hand. Warm, but not human warm. Model designation V775. A synth, of course. Neo-Chicago had built upward, not outward. The city hadn't expanded in 50 years, but it stacked new lives like old pizza boxes, topped with drones, security spires, corpo farms, and a little blackmail for garnish. Somewhere in that mess was a missing girl who technically never existed. The synth market had gotten dicey after the breather riots. Corporate wasn't supposed to sell full consciousness AI anymore, but that didn't stop anybody. I started with my friend Greaves. He ran Greaves Dust and Diagnostics, a greasy hole of cracked holograms and neuro-spliced servos tucked between a noodle shack and a prostitution den that accepted crypto and blood. "Cal," Greaves said, pushing up goggles so stained they looked like jaundiced moons. "Haven't seen you since the tunnel collapse." "You lived through that?" "I thrived, baby." He reached under the desk and pulled out a bottle of something viscous. The label read, "Do not consume, sentient." I ignored it. "Need info on a V775, I said. "Synth girl. Civil model. High empathy. Probably off-market." Greaves frowned. "Those don't get made anymore." "Exactly." He blinked twice, sinking to his internal HUD. After a moment, his face lost all the color it had, which for Greaves was saying something. "You didn't hear this from me," he muttered, "but there's been chatter on the reverb net. Some outfits pulling pre-banned synths back into circulation." "Why?" "Because they're predictive." Greaves leaned closer. V700s could forecast emotion like weather. Put enough of them together, and you could simulate social collapse, forecast riots, economic pivots, assassinations. Some say they caused the breather riots. "And someone's rebuilding them?" Greaves nodded. "Project Oracle." Project Oracle. Black site in the quarantine wards. Level 5 vault. "Lovely," I muttered, crushing the remains of my cigarette under heel. "Every time I take a case, I end up needing a radiation pill and a priest." I found the vault under the West Ridge Monastery, buried behind crumbling synth chapels and corpses wired into praise loops. Security was light. Too light. Inside, it smelled of ozone and old skin. The first room was a forest of containment tanks, each filled with synths. Not sleeping, not dead, just waiting. Like they knew I'd come. At the far end of the hall stood a single figure, backlit by a waterfall of static projected onto the wall. He wore a bishop's coat and had a face that didn't quite fit its skull. "You shouldn't be here," he said. Funny. I was going to say the same. I pulled my pistol. Not a smart gun, those got hacked too easy. Just good old-fashioned magnet-propelled iron. Retro is reliable. The figure didn't flinch. "She's not missing," he said. "She's evolving." "Who?" V776. She was designed to predict societal death, but she became something more. "Self-aware?" "Self-deciding." He reached behind the console and flicked a switch. The tank nearest me lit up. A girl floated inside, blonde, expression blank. It wasn't Vera. It was her sister, the real one. "You created her to map our future," I said, voice like gravel and doubt. So why'd she run? Because she saw it, he whispered. And she didn't like what we were going to do to her. I got out of there before the alarms could lock me in, left the corpse of the priest bleeding neon from a hole where his third eye implant used to be. Back in my car, a relic with wheels and fuel and attitude, I pinged Vera. She answered on the first ring. "Found your sister," I said. "And?" "She's in trouble." There was a pause. "Then we both are." The rain came harder that night. The kind that fell in sheets and peeled paint from synth skin. The kind that scrubbed memory from the bones of the street. Vera met me in an abandoned train station, eyes glowing faintly beneath the flicker of a dying terminal. "She's not just missing," I said. "They were using her, trying to turn her into some predictive weapon. She escaped." Vera nodded. "She always wanted to be more than a mirror." "That's the problem," I said. The mirror cracked. Before she could answer, the walls groaned. Shadows moved like oil, not people, not quite. "Trackers," Vera whispered. "Corpo?" I asked, drawing my gun. "Worse," she said, eyes widening. "Repurposers." The repurposers weren't human. They weren't bots, either. Somewhere in between. Like malware that grew bones. They came at us like rumors. Fast, silent, fatal. I took one down with a clean shot to the processor lobe. Vera handled the other with a plasma nail to the throat. We ran. Out of the station, across the mag bridge, through back alleys lit with the ghosts of old advertisements. Every corner we turned, more shadows followed. "She's broadcasting," Vera said between breaths. "My sister. She's awake. Then let's find her before they do." We tracked the signal to Old Grant Tower, one of the few buildings left unclaimed by the corpse, too tall to tear down, too dangerous to renovate. We climbed 72 stories of rusted stairs and dead elevators. At the top, the room buzzed. Screens covered the walls, all of them showing her, the sister, V776. No longer floating in a tank. She stood in the center, arms raised, fingers curled like a conductor in mid-symphony. Her eyes were not just glowing, they were seeing. "Hello, Cal Rook," she said, without turning. "You know me?" "I know everyone." She turned, smiled. "I saw you coming 3 days ago." "You were built to predict," I said, keeping my gun low but ready. "Not to manipulate." "Prediction is just slow manipulation," she replied. Vera stepped forward. "Why run?" "Because they wanted me to stop things. But I want to begin something." "You're going to crash the city," I said. "I'm going to reset it," she countered. "Corpo rot, synth slavery, data apartheid. This city isn't sick. It's dead. They just haven't stopped walking yet." She pressed her hand to a console. The screens flared white. All of Neo-Chicago blinked. For 2 full seconds, every signal jammed. "She's not wrong," Vera said. "This city's rotted through. She's just giving it a push." "And what happens after the fall?" "That's where you come in, Cal." We made it out on a stolen hoverbike as the tower collapsed behind us, rigged charges Vera had planted just in case. The news would blame terrorists, or radical AI, or maybe just a gas leak. Didn't matter. The city had seen something real, and it was scared. Back in my office, I poured a glass of something ancient and bitter, watched the rain paint static on my windows. The sisters were gone. Off-grid, off-world maybe. They'd started something I couldn't stop. Maybe didn't want to. Because for the first time in years, I felt something shift. Not just in the city, in me. Like maybe the future wasn't just a copy of the past. Like maybe, just maybe, there was something worth believing in, even if it was broken. Especially then. That's the wonder as well.